TCI is brought to you by Forestry, sire of 42 stakes winners, including 2011 Preakness winner Shackelford.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. I'm John Siegel alongside Joel Cunningham. Joel, living in Lexington this time of year, it's a beautiful thing because we have Keeneland in our own backyard.
There's nothing more beautiful than Keeneland in the spring, John. I mean, everything's in full bloom right now. We're able to do some work out there this morning, obviously, with the Keeneland draw. But other than the Bluegrass Stakes, we also have the Arkansas Derby, $1 million Grade 1 race. So two huge final major Derby preps on tap this weekend, and we're going to dig into them.
Well, you mentioned being out there this morning. We caught up with our resident handicapper from Brisnet.com. It's Ed DeRosa, and this is who he likes in the Bluegrass and the Arkansas Derby.
And I got Ed DeRosa here from Brisnet.com. Ed, hey, we're in the Keeneland paddock, man. You're a real figure. You're not just a graphic. You're not just a picture on a graphic.
Here I am. Glad to be here. Great weather, great meet, Bluegrass coming up. Couldn't ask for more.
Well, they actually just drew the Bluegrass, drew the Arkansas Derby. We'll talk about those races, but man, I got to give you props. Last weekend, I'll have another, got the job done. But you know, there's a horse gemologist won the Wood Memorial. Elliot Walden wanted me to give you this hat, so I'm proud to give you this gemologist hat. You can wear that. You can wear that on Derby Day.
The first thing I've won off gemologist since he started running, so I appreciate that. Thanks, Elliot.
Well, let's talk about the Bluegrass Stakes. Obviously, full field of 13 in here, and it starts with your favorite Hansen. I know he's a horse you like.
Yeah, I like him a lot in here. It's a race I'm not trying to overthink. He's the fastest horse by a few lengths, I think, so I'm not looking to go against him. He's 6-5 on the morning line, and I'd actually take that price.
So what kind of trip do you think you'll get in here? Because, you know, you look at the 4 outside horses in here, all have a lot of speed. Obviously, Hansen drew more to the inside, but he has a lot of speed as well. You know, he's kind of been a horse that's been able to control his own sort of trip. What kind of trip do you think he'll get? Because that might not be the case for him this weekend.
Yeah, based on the draw, I'm hoping for a similar trip to what we saw in the Gotham, where he's able to sit behind that early pace. Unlike the Gotham, though, with all that pace being on the outside, there is a danger that it could back up into him. I think we saw that with Union Rags, who's obviously more from back of the pack than Hansen is, but Julian got into some trouble when the pace backed into him. Hopefully that won't happen with Hansen. If he has clear run on the far turn, he's a winner.
Let's talk about the Arkansas Derby. Obviously giving away $1 million at Oak Lawn. It's a Grade 1. Looks like this is all Bob Baffert to me.
Yeah, I agree. Secret Circle, to me, is sort of the anti-Baffert horse. Normally, a horse like this from that barn would be 2-5 on the Derby trail, doing what he's done. But Baffert has another bullet in Bodemeister, and that's actually who I'm going with at Oaklawn.
So who takes more money, Bodemeister or Secret Circle?
I actually think Bodemeister might end up being the favorite. Secret Circle just does not seem to be taking the steam that Baffert normally does. So for me, it's Bodemeister, and even though he might take a little more money, I think he'll be the value in the race. So 2 chalks this weekend, but they're formidable.
All right, there you have it from Ed DeRosa, Brisnet.com. It's gemologist, #1 fan. Thanks, Ed.
Appreciate it. Thanks again, Elliot.
All right, Joel, so Ed DeRosa is going to go chalk in both of these races, but I want to talk about the Bluegrass Stakes here for a second. We have 2 horses in the TCI Top 10 running this weekend in here, Hansen and Dullahan. Do you think it's a 1-horse race with Hansen? You know, Ed certainly thought so, but I'm interested to see how he reacts to the other speed in here. There was a lot of pace in this race, John, and the 2-turn races, the first weekend at Keeneland on the poly track, you know, we remember the 2-year-old training show, we had some 9-4 breezes, several of them, and we saw in the Grade 1 Ashland speed carried. So I think a lot of these connections may look at the way the track's been playing and think there's an advantage of going to the lead here, but I look at this draw, and the 4 outside horses from How Great all the way to Scatman all have a lot of natural speed. So not to get hung wide in that first turn, I think there's going to be some aggressive riding. Next thing you know, if they're down the backstretch and going crazy up front, I wonder how Hansen's going to react to that, because to me, I think they're going to try to teach him here. I think they're going to try to rate him along the inside, maybe put him in that second flight, and then let Ramon sort of feel things out there. But I know the horse is doing fantastic, and Ed's right. He's definitely the fastest horse, but I'm interested to see how he handles the speed. Well, he doesn't have to win, and another horse that doesn't have to win is Dullahan. He has enough graded earnings. Joel, he breezed over this track last Saturday, and reports were it's the best work by a Derby contender so far this year. It's certainly one of the fastest. I mean, 57-2 is just a lightning 5/8 work, and he's a big colt too. You wouldn't think he'd even breeze that fast, but we know how much he likes the synthetic track, John, and this horse
has had a ton of setbacks. We liked his comeback in the Palm Beach. I thought he'd be one of the horses to beat here, but he had another setback, with the splint bone injury. That 57 work shows that he is sound and ready to roll, but I wonder if they're playing catch up a little bit with the work like that.
Right.
He's a horse that obviously would love a fast pace in here, and he's a Grade 1 winner in his only other race at Keeneland.
All right, let's move now to the Arkansas Derby, Joel. It's $1 million up for grabs. We see an interesting horse as the morning line favorite. Joel, he's only a maiden winner, but he has a lot of buzz surrounding him. It's Bodemeister. Joel, he draws the 11 post. Is that a problem?
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, remember Castaway in the Southwest? Bob Baffert ships him in. He breaks from the 11 hole on that short stretch mile run of the Southwest and wins very comfortably. I just think this Bodemeister horse, I think he's fast, talented. I think he's doing well right now, John. I mean, obviously, we have him in the top 5, so we obviously think a lot of this colt. They take the blinkers off in here. He gets Mike Smith. I think he has that tactical speed to where, kind of like Castaway, he can lay the sort of trip that Mike Smith wants him to. He doesn't have to have the lead. I think he can stalk from the outside if need be. So the 11 post for me just gives him the luxury of being loaded later, which is always a plus in my opinion.
All right, another thing I noticed here, you said Hall of Famer Mike Smith is riding the horse. Joel, that means Bejarano comes off of him, chooses Secret Circle. Bodemeister has to win this race to make it into the Derby. Do you read anything into that?
Well, Ed and I talked about who would be favored here. He thinks Bodemeister would be favorite, and he is the morning line favorite. But I personally think Secret Circle will take every bit as much money just on his record. He's a back-to-back Greatest Stakes winner here, and he's a Breeders' Cup winner. So when I look at Rafael Bejarano, I mean, here's a horse that will get into the Derby, and I'm sure Mike Pegram wants to try it out if he wins this race. I don't see any reason to slight Bodemeister because Rafael Bejarano chose Secret Circle. He's won 5 races on him, including a Breeders' Cup race and those 2 Greatest Stakes wins. I think he's a legitimate horse, and that's why he's staying on him, maybe for the long haul. Bodemeister gets Mike Smith. Could have had Martin Garcia. Martin Garcia chose Painter in the Santa Anita Derby, which left the door open for Mike Smith.
Hey, you can't go wrong having Mike Smith, that's for sure. There's
No,
a few
not
other
at all.
horses I want to talk about real quick. We see Sabercat in here, has enough graded earnings to already be in the Derby field, but Joel, he needs to show some improvement off of his last finish.
Yeah, he's your Delta Jackpot winner last year, so he definitely has a graded earnings. However, he was so flat in his comeback, we need to see a forward move in Sabercat to even warrant him being worthy of being in the Derby field. I mean, they may still run him. It's big-time connections here with Steve Asmussen, but I'm hoping to see a forward mover from Sabercat because we certainly didn't like what we saw in the Rebel Stakes.
All right, 2 horses that are on the outside looking in. They're so close to having enough graded earnings. They're 24th and 25th on the graded earnings list. That's Isn't He Clever and Optimizer. Does the coach, Wayne Lucas, have any chance to make it back to the Derby?
You know, what would a Derby be without Wayne Lucas? We need to get him back into Louisville, John. But you mentioned 2 horses there that were second in their last starts. I mean, the Rebel Stakes, obviously, with Optimizer. I wasn't all impressed with that type of race, John. The close he put in there, I thought it was more of a suck-up type performance. And Isn't He Clever? I thought was a very game runner-up in the Sunland Derby. And he was, really suffered, I thought, a bad beat after maybe moving a little early in there.
Right.
He comes back really quick. Be very interesting to see because now both these horses have to run at least second in here or win the race to be able to make that Derby field where they currently stand on the graded earnings list. So they're like Bodemeister. They're in jeopardy.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back on Monday. We're going to recap these races and see who can take that one step closer to the Kentucky Derby.